One thing you definitely have to know about boating is you never know when things are going to go wrong, but all you can do is be 100% prepared for the fact that things may not go your way. Kind of like this crew right here who was out enjoying a day of fishing in the Gulf of Mexico on their Calcutta, when all of a sudden the next thing they know, the vessel began to take on water and they wound up sinking. Fortunately, they had all the necessary offshore gear. The Coast Guard was able to come to their rescue, as well as a Good Samaritan vessel who stepped in to help save the crew. The oddest part of this one, I shouldn't say the oddest part, maybe the most incredible part of this story, a couple of days later, they were able to go out and find the vessel and recover it, even though it had drifted almost 100 miles from where it originally sank. But just one of the wild and crazy things we'll see in this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. Our first story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to sunny Isle, Florida, where this was the scene this past week when residents of a waterfront condo building were awakened to the sound of fire alarms going off in the building. Fortunately, local fire crews were alerted of the situation and quickly dispatched to the scene. But as they arrived at the condo building expecting to see possibly a condo fire, they find the marina behind them had caught on fire, and the smoke from the fiberglass was so thick that it was actually setting off the alarm system of the condo building. According to local reports from Miami-Dade Fire and Rescue, they wound up arriving at the apartment building at around 5 a.m. Upon arrival, they found one docked yacht in the marina in the back fully engulfed in flames. The crews quickly jumped into action, trying to loosen and dislodge boats from the dock so they could try and prevent the flames from spreading to further vessels. Due to their quick actions, it is believed that many vessels were able to be saved from the blaze. According to the reports, 6 larger vessels wound up going down in the fire, 2 personal watercraft, and a dinghy that was on the dock at the time. Estimated damages in the millions, which is easily possible considering just one of the boats that went up in the blaze was a 90-foot yacht that happened to be at the dock at the time. Fortunately, no injuries were reported during the incident. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us up to the Great Lakes, where this was the scene this past week.
You're on already. Pilot crew radios. Hey, pilot. Hoist to all. Hoist to all. This is Red There's free fall deployment.
According to local reports, a U.S. Coast Guard MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter crew from Air Station Traverse City wound up flying to the scene of a 30-foot sailing vessel that appeared to be taking on water with 2 people on board. This incident occurred in the area of Grand Traverse Bay in Michigan. Upon arrival to the scene, the Coast Guard helicopter crew assessed the situation and determined the best course of action was to drop the 12-foot and drop the rescue swimmer in the water so he could board the sinking vessel and try and help the crew on board to see if they could stabilize it and either slow down or stop the ingress of water. Fortunately, during this situation, multiple assets responded to the scene. As we can see, we have a Coast Guard vessel approaching, we have the helicopter crew itself, a towboat shows up right at the end, as well as several Good Samaritan vessels all went around the vessel to try and help assist in the situation. Fortunately, during this incident, the 2 crew members on board, assisted by the Coast Guard rescue swimmer, were able to get the ingress of water slowed down enough where they were able to attempt to try and bring the sailboat back to shore. The rescue swimmer was loaded back on the helicopter as we see in the images here, and the Coast Guard rescue vessel that we saw in the images escorted the ship back to Sutton Bay Marina. Fortunately, in this incident, no injuries were reported. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to the coast of India, where this was the scene just about a week ago when the cargo vessel Wanhai 503 for some reason suffered an explosion on the deck of the vessel, catching several cargo containers on fire and eventually setting the entire ship ablaze as seen in the images here. Now, it's not a simple closed and shut case in this one, as according to local Indian authorities, a criminal inquiry has been opened against the master and crew of the box ship of the Wanhai 503. According to local Indian officials, the criminal investigation claims that the fire was likely caused by a cargo container of misdeclared explosives. According to reports, the crew and captain are possibly facing charges including negligent navigation, obstructing lines of navigation, negligent handling of toxic substances, negligent handling of flammable materials, and endangering human life by using explosives. And on top of that, there's also a possible conspiracy charge that the crew may be faced with, as Indian authorities claim the crew immediately abandoned the vessel after the explosion. The crew members of this cargo vessel were trained to undertake firefighting operations, but instead they chose to leave the vessel instead of trying to put out the blaze. And speaking of blazes, our next story is going to follow right along that line and take us over to Alaska. The images we see here are the car carrier the Morning Midas, which was off the coast of Alaska approximately 220 miles, when a little over a week ago, on board the vessel on one of the cargo holds that was supposedly carrying electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles, a fire broke out, forcing the 22-person crew on board the vessel to evacuate the ship. The 600-foot Morning Midas is a car and truck carrier, and at the time it happened to be sailing from China to Mexico. During the incident, it was carrying over 3,000 vehicles, including 70 electric cars and almost 700 hybrid vehicles. Immediately after the fire broke out, the crew initially tried to fight the blaze with the onboard systems on the ship, but unfortunately they were unsuccessful in getting it under control, and the intensity of the blaze eventually forced them to abandon ship. Fortunately, they were able to be rescued by a Good Samaritan vessel, as a Costco container ship happened to be in the area and was able to divert and pick up the crew. At this time, the U.S. Coast Guard is working with the ship owners to try and create a salvage plan to safely get the vessel back to shore. The fire is still burning today, but it does appear that the vessel is afloat and not listing at this time. Fortunately, no injuries were reported during this incident. Thanks for watching, crew. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button.